And like always, tonight is the night that we are going to talk about some stuff, and tonight's going to be a great night. And I want to start off every Thursday the way that I always do, welcoming out my two delightful comrades, Lee Cuthbert and Scoop Dawson. Hello, Lee.
Hey, T-Dog, what's up?
What's up? Hello, Scoop.
Hey, Scoop.
Hey.
So, I've had a pretty eventful week. So, I just kind of want to let you guys know. Last week, my husband turned 50. So he's officially old. I'm much younger. Um, Lee, let me live my dream. So that was interesting. That was interesting because now I never think of myself as old. And now I'm starting to think of myself as old.
How would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, it just kind of hit me right here. But
Feeling old it's a mind
what?
thing. It's
Is
a
a
mind.
mind thing. We'll see.
Says the 28-year-old. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. No, wait, we found out he's in his 30s.
Oh, he's in his
30s, y'all.
Okay.
I'm Jesus's age.
33?
Yeah.
Okay, so aside from having a big week last week, there's a big holiday coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the Hallmark holiday. It's Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I'm single. Scoop, are you single?
Not really.
Oh. Well, never mind. Okay.
Well, I have been married 115 years, so I am not single.
Right.
But this has been a weird year, right? We're still dealing with like COVID. We still can't really go anywhere. So started thinking and looking at different things around Atlanta that you might be able to do, much like one would on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across something that I think you guys are really going to like. I came across something called Appetite for Seduction, and it has to do with cooking. Yes, and I have brought the lady behind it here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shani Delamore. Please give it up for her. Yes.
Hey, Shani.
Hey. Hi, guys. Hey. So, Shani, you have to take us, first of all,
okay,
it's a cooking class, but I want you to kind of explain to everyone what it is. And by the way, Twitch users, Lee is posting the link to her company in the Twitch stream. So, Shani, please tell us all about Appetite for Seduction.
Oh, thank you. Well, guys, I'll tell you first, I started this business in New York City, probably like 10 years ago. Like back when we used to meet up in real life. Do you guys remember? So,
Barely,
yeah,
barely.
long time ago. And actually, God, it would be so scary now because we were so tight in like one apartment, like 6 couples, 12 people. So it used to be real life. We would cook and meet with all the people, and it was about 3 hours, and it was like a full-on dinner and talk and wine, and a lot of people got drunk and had fun. And the whole evening starts with talking of aphrodisiacs and sort of like how the whole story, right? You could like what is it? Through the way to a man's heart, or my heart too, is through their stomach. That whole kind of thing, and like it's really true for me. And also like aphrodisiacs, like if you think about it, they do work. It's like it's sort of like putting that thought out there. The like the placebo, right? Like we all hear about people that oh my God, I was cured, and they're like, you took the placebo. So that's sort of like what it's kind of what aphrodisiacs are. Although there are aphrodisiacs that really, really work. So anyway, my classes, the people come in, I teach you guys, teach them how to cut and whatnot, use the knife, proper ways of like making food, because a lot of people have no idea how to cook anymore. And so we kind of go through that, but also it's a date night experience. And actually to come to my class, you have to be in a couple. there's been times, when maybe like someone's boyfriend or husband couldn't make it and their friend came, and then I love it because they always like try to pretend that they're like a couple and you don't know. And you're like, oh, you guys, I didn't know you were together. Anyway, it's really fun. But the other thing is like people love to do these cooking classes, and all the men used to tell me, they're like, thank God you have this class, because they're like, we went to this other class and I was the only guy there, and there's all these older women like fawning all over me, and where they kind of loved that, they kind of also hated it. So my classes, it's very like interactive and lots of people hanging out. So, and we do get things kind of get spiced up sometimes too when we talk so much about, phallic and that kind. What's up? Question.
Can I get a list of the aphrodisiacs?
I was going to ask that, like, can you tell us sort of some of the aphrodisiacs and really how you learned about them, how you know so much about them?
Well, so my whole like story began because I have a friend in New York City. His name is John Dapolito. He is sort of like this acting, not really an acting coach. Like he sort of helps people find their niche of like where they excel and what like their special thing is based on all this like stuff about your upbringing and whatever. And I did my private lesson with him, and it's not because I wanted to be an actor, but I was like lost in like my life. And so he said that my joy is expressing my love through cooking. And that's like my real joy. In New York, I worked at tons of restaurants. I like love cooking. I love to sort of like express that. I'm also a Taurus right there. I think you can see that. I'm a Taurus. And we like are so like five senses, like we want everything to taste good, look good, smell good, feel good, all smell good, all of that. And so that's really, really a part of me. And so like when I get in like with love, I'm like, we got to eat, so it's a lot about that. And so that's sort of how it started. And so I thought, well, that was like a big time, like with, the Food Network and all that kind of stuff. And so I just started thinking my thing is really about like kind of is like sexiness, like where you go out and there's like this like, kind of like vibe, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. That's maybe how I eat. I'm like, but, so for that, I started thinking, well, there are aphrodisiacs, and what is that? And so I was managing a restaurant, and when we were slow, I'd have books and books of aphrodisiacs, and I would just write everything down and take notes and think about foods that I liked or stories, because some stories you're like, they're kind of crazy, but some stories are really fun. And I don't know, like if any of you guys in your life have ever like done a cleanse, or you've given up coffee, or you've given up sugar or something. And like, especially when I had my son, I had to give up coffee. Man, that first time you go back on coffee, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And so they talk about aphrodisiacs in that way, that they have that effect on you. Actually, coffee is an aphrodisiac. It's because there's aphrodisiacs that simulate like a response that you might have while you're having sex. So you guys, you guys like coffee? Anyone out there? Yeah. Okay. So how does coffee make you feel, Tanya?
Really good. Like
Really
I'm a real bitch in the morning without it.
Right. It's like, yeah, you're like, it gets you all jittery, all good, all happy, like I'm alive, your heart beats fast, that's like the falling in love, right? Like that's sort of like, there's that excitement about it. And so coffee is an aphrodisiac. And then there's other things like, for instance, chili pepper, hot things, right? Chili peppers. Yeah. So, chili, I think the thing that happens to me is like, I get, if you eat too much, you get like sweaty and you kind of get dizzy, a little dizzy like that. And so I think when that happens, that's sort of like, kind of like right about when you're about to come, and it's similar to like having, sex and you're all hot and bothered. And so there's another aphrodisiac for you. So
let me ask you this. What is a food that you learned was an aphrodisiac that really surprised you that it was an aphrodisiac?
That's like a hard question because I could look at all kind of food and be like, yeah, that got me excited. I'm like such a like a food whore. So that let me think. It's, actually, okay, like one that I find is like interesting, like pomegranates. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, like because pomegranate, like for me, like I feel like sexy foods are sort of things that seem like a little bit, well, rich or extreme or yeah, a banana. All right, Lee, do you know why the banana is an aphrodisiac? Lee,
Beyond its shape.
that's exactly why.
Okay. Yeah.
For its shape, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
I mean, sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, wow, I want to take my clothes off.
It happens. It happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably why, like at bachelorette parties, like one of the number one games is like peeling a banana and seeing how much you can eat.
Yeah. Like this, not so much.
No.
Yeah.
Not sexy. Not sexy.
No. I love it. I used to ask people like, okay, what foods look phallic? And people would be like, corn on the cob. And I'm thinking, good God, no. Like, if it looks like that, put it back in, zip it up and run. Like,
Put that away and go see a doctor immediately.
stay away from that. I'm like, no way. So I don't know. So like, I think pomegranates for me, just because it actually was sort of like everything's a story, right? Everything's like how it got passed down, who believes it, what happened. I mean, I am sure like that instead of the apple being the thing that Eve took, I think it was a pomegranate, like they're in the Middle East and that whole thing, like the temptation fruit. But for me, I'm like, pomegranate is just like, it's like juicy seeds. I don't know. I don't find it like so to me. So
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting one. I would have never thought like
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, it's like fertility. It's like full of seeds, so it's meant to like help you with fertility, get pregnant, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I think it's really the original food of sin or whatever.
let's talk about these classes because you're doing these classes online right now.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the menu
Sure.
for these classes. Sort of take us through what they're going to be learning to cook,
Okay.
the aphrodisiac, and what they're learning, and all of that.
So for me, Valentine's Day is like it's a special night. It's like a special time and whatever. Also, So one of the things for me for cooking has always been, I'm like, listen, people, we're here to have fun. We're here to like entertain each other. We're here to like enjoy the company of our partner. And we are not here to like walk away with like, world's best chef award. Okay. Like that's not happening tonight. That's way too much pressure. I just want you guys to like maybe kiss and maybe like get laid at the end. I don't really want you to like kill each other. Yeah. So anyway, so the menu is we're starting with asparagus. Asparagus is again phallic, super phallic. There's lots of stories behind it. Also asparagus is kind of sexy in the way that it's like light, but like full of flavor. So we're making roasted asparagus, and then we're gonna make hollandaise sauce. And I don't know what Atlanta does, but like New York, we are giant brunch people, like giant, like we live for brunch. And I feel like at one time in the future when life gets normal in LA, that like brunch will be like an at-home kind of thing for me, like invite people over. And hollandaise sauce is just like, I mean, honestly, like I made it the other day. I was practicing and I'm like, I'm like, this is so good. I forget how good it is. So yeah, Lee, what's up?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but aren't you worried that these people are going to get too full? Like, I mean, do you try to keep the meal like so that you're still hungry at the end? Like hungry for some,
that's interesting because I actually increased the quantity of the pasta a little bit because I didn't want people at the end to be like, I'm still hungry. But I fully believe in like going like a little bit and then you can always leave it like for, 2 hours later when you like, like throw that stuff in the nuke it in the microwave when, post love making. So
okay.
I think
because I was thinking it was like a leaf of lettuce and than like a
There's
motel room.
nothing sexy about lettuce.
No, yeah. Yeah, we gotta like slowly get into it, you know. People have to like rub things with oil and you know, like that kind
Okay.
of stuff.
I have a confession. I do find that there's something very satisfying about rubbing asparagus in oil before
Yeah.
roasting it. It's
Yeah, 100%. It's like, hello. look
See,
at my
I'm not
oil.
crazy. It's just like I put it on the baking sheet and I'm like, oh, hello, yes.
Well, and that's like what the class is about, because it's sort of like the pointing out the obvious. And so like you're gonna be there, your husband's gonna be there, and I'm gonna be like, rub it, girl, and then your husband's gonna be like, oh my God, you know, and that's what happens.
So we start with the asparagus and the hollandaise sauce.
Yes.
So then I know you've mentioned pasta. Do we move to pasta next?
Yeah. Well, so the way we make things might be a little bit twisted, just so that, you know, like I'm the master of making sure it's right at the right time, right? But ultimately how we're going to eat it will be the asparagus and then the pasta. And so the pasta is like, honestly, it's one of my favorite. I lived in Italy. The Italians do have their certain ways of cooking food. They might die if they knew that chicken was in their pasta, but it is so good. I am not kidding you. Like the pasta, like my son is like, oh my God, please. Like I have to make it like 3 times a week for my son. He's just like in love with it. So anyway, it's chicken with prosciutto, this amazing like white wine, cream Parmesan sauce, and some green peas with penne pasta.
So what in that dish? What's the sexy there? What's the aphrodisiac you're bringing out there?
Well, definitely the prosciutto. You know, like cured meat, like eating with your hands, all that stuff is like 100% like aphrodisiac, like stimulating food. And then like the whole richness of the Parmesan and the creaminess and the wine and all of that, and it just kind of all mixes together and makes it like to die for. So it's so good. It's so good. It's such a good pasta.
With your hands, like you can like feed your feed your spouse and just like, here, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you guys remember that guy, the salt guy? Remember him? There was like salt. Yeah. You can practice that when you put your parsley on top. It's like all good. Yeah.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Just a lot of your aphrodisiacs are phallic. For us lesbians, is there something else that you might consider that's not so long and strong?
Something a little more yonic.
Yes. What would that be?
Yonic. So Yoni, do you know who Yoni is?
Yes.
Yeah. So Yoni is a goddess, and so yonic things are like my favorite. I mean, I think, okay, you just tell me what you think is the most yonic fruit ever, and I'll see if we agree. You might be
fruit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mediterranean, maybe. For me, it's the fig.
I was gonna say fig. You know what? I have a fig jam addiction.
Really?
I do.
So like if you can picture a fig, right? Like cut in half. It's like all like darker red and then lighter, and it's like literally it looks like a vagina. And like if they're juicy enough, you just want to be like, you know, like get in there.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, hello. Yeah. Fig.
Yeah.
So
that's yeah.
Yeah. What are my other yonic ones?
Is an artichoke in there anywhere?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nasty.
The artichoke for me is like the performer of the foods, right? Because it's like, first you have to take off my clothes. You know, you're like peel, bite, dip, yum, yum. And then it's like, oh, like let me dig in the fur and like expose the yumminess. And then when you get that away, you're like, you know, then you get the heart of it all. And it's like, yes.
So basically what you're saying is the artichoke is like a foreplay aphrodisiac.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all of it. I think it's the performer because it's sort of like interactive, like you're you know, you have to slow down. It takes a while. It's sort of like it's a striptease, you know, it's taking off its clothes. Oh my God, amazing. Yeah.
Hold on, so artichoke is like a stripper?
Yes.
I would say it's the stripper that plays a little hard to get because it's work to
It
get
is
in.
work.
Oh, like Diamond Off Players Club.
Oh.
Like what?
Like Diamond Off Players Club.
I don't know that. Do I know that?
Diamond Off Players Club.
Oh, well, see, I don't know about that, but my guess is when you walk in, they're already pretty much naked.
Not
No?
Diamond, she could have stayed fully dressed and I still would have gave her some money.
Okay, good. Because the artichoke is about the like revealing, you know what I mean? It's about like, you got to work this. So you got to like, you know, you got to clear the way to get to the good stuff.
Coming through.
Exactly. Totally. I mean, that's why artichoke is so good.
As long as I'm not going through a jungle.
No. I mean, that might be back in fashion any day now. You never know.
So we've got asparagus and hollandaise sauce. We've got this wonderful pasta.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you're going to finish up with the dessert. I know you're going to finish with the dessert because I read your menu.
Yes.
Kind of talk us through the dessert.
So the dessert, is the lava cake, the fondant cake, the, you know, the cake that when you cut into it, like the chocolate oozes out and it's like, oh my God. And
we all know what the chocolate oozing is.
I mean,
for.
yes, it is like it's just like I got burst open. I mean, I love that. First of all, I love it because it's, you know, it's sort of like a metaphor for the whole thing. But I also love it because, man, that chocolate cake is like a showstopper. I mean, I'm not kidding you. And it's not that hard. That's the other thing. I'm like the master of like making food that like, you'll be like, well, I think I could do this. Yeah, that's like the kind of food I want to make. Lava cake is like that. And it's like, it is like show stopping. People like, you know, do I dare say they like cream their pants over it? No.
Absolutely. Yes. You
So
should say
good.
that.
It's just like, it's so good.
Yes.
So good. So,
The chocolate
yeah.
is the aphrodisiac there, right? So
Totally.
chocolate is an aphrodisiac. Okay, I have heard that dark chocolate is more of an aphrodisiac than any other chocolate. Is that true?
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole reason behind that is because, like the part that's the aphrodisiac is the cocoa. Okay. So, you know, milk chocolate usually has like less than 50% cocoa beans in it. So, you know, it has more milk and sugar than it does cocoa. So it doesn't have as much as an effect on you. So the higher up you go. Although, you know, personally for me, like I've tried chocolate that's like 80, 90%. And at that point, you just want to dip it in sugar anyway. So I find like there's like a sweet spot, you know? So, and chocolate. So you guys, I mean, I have a very, like, I don't know if it's an addiction, relationship. I have something like me and chocolate, like we go way back and we will never break up and we really love each other. So I really feel that about chocolate. And it's the thing. So do you guys like chocolate? Any of you guys out there?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, why do you like it, Tanya? How's it make you feel?
Well, I have just recently, like in the last probably 5 years, gotten really into dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like one of those things when you're a kid and your mom buys the bag of Hershey's miniatures, the special dark, you always avoided it like the plague.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's sort of like once I reached this certain age, the dark chocolate is so rich on your tongue.
Mhm.
So it's like satisfying. Like
Yeah.
whereas milk chocolate, you could eat like maybe, let's say like half a bar. The
Yeah.
dark chocolate is so rich and so like velvety. You have like one piece of it and you're like, I'm good.
So do you guys hear all the words she was saying? Satisfying. I'm good. Right? I feel better. Oh my God, it's enough. Yeah. So chocolate is the orgasm. Okay, guys. Chocolate is literally the orgasm of the aphrodisiac world because it has like 300 flavor components, which is amazing. Like just FYI, like we're drinking wine and maybe we've taken those classes and they have like a wheel. Like, could you imagine 300? That's chocolate. So people, it can't be faked. Chocolate cannot be faked. It's so special like that. It actually has THC in it, which is also found in marijuana, and that's the part that like kind of relaxes you and calms you and makes you surrender. And it really affects your neurotransmitters and adds serotonin, so you feel really good. So basically, chocolate is like a physical thing that we could eat in place of having a true live orgasm. And so
it's the ultimate edible.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Totally. And it works really fast too. Like you immediately start feeling good. And it lasts a while because of the cocoa butter, like the fat that's in it. It like releases all that. And so you sort of get this like feeling. And so it's good. It's good.
I love that. Scoop, I think you had a question.
Oh, I was about to say marijuana is an aphrodisiac too.
Yeah. That's it. Is it legal in Atlanta yet or no?
Not yet.
No. Here it is. It's interesting. Yeah, here, it's like it's all okay everywhere. But yeah, definitely. Everybody's got their thing. I can't do marijuana because I get cuckoo. But although I have tried other things with chocolate and I really like those. So,
I have a question for you. So
yeah.
I know that the food is the aphrodisiac, but there's a little bit of a performance art. There's a little bit of a sense thing happening in your classes, because I think you have something you want to show. Yeah.
So when I started this business, like I told you guys how I started it, and I always wanted it to like for you to understand like the relationship between the food and our senses, because it really does. Like food is really the only thing like sex that we use all of our five senses. Eating, I should say, not food. Eating and sex. They always say that it's the only ones that we use. I don't know if that's true. I guess because other things you don't taste, right? You're not like skydiving going, yay. So anyway, so they go very similar. And I always wanted people to like understand, how that worked. And because it's a date night, I really wanted people to have like a one-on-one interaction, even though they were in a group class. So in my classes, I used to test people's senses. Like we would have little things full of like something to smell, something to touch, and something to taste. And then we would get like our little pink blindfolds and get the couples, one blindfolded, and I'd make them.
When you lose one of your senses, it enhances all your others.
Yes, exactly. So ultimately, like, you're touching something, and then you're smelling something, and then at the last one, we're like tasting something. And I have all these rules, like you have to touch your partner the whole time, and you have to like refer to them as madam or master. It's awesome. People's like their control issues come out, and you're like, I am not calling you that. Or they're like, I love it. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's great. I love and I kind of like putting people in that position where it's like, I am not comfortable. I'm like, good. Say it again.
When we were talking before the show, I think this is the perfect segue. We were talking before the show, and you were talking about how you've had some interesting things happen in your classes, like maybe be like, oh, I'm not doing that. So kind of take us through, what's the worst experience you've ever had in a class, like anything that made you uncomfortable? And then I want to talk about the couple that went downstairs, which I'd say they had the best experience in your class. So take us through your worst first.
So I get not really uncomfortable. So, but it was funny, right? Like this guy comes in and he like, what? I don't know. It was so interesting. So my classes, very rarely do people come as a first date, because I'm making them touch and making them blindfold. I mean, it's a lot, okay, for a first date. I mean, a lot, right? Like you gotta be like, wow, this is amazing. But so typically it's not first date, but this guy brings his girl, maybe it was like the second date. Okay. And everything's like fun. I'm like, well, they're so fun. Da, da, da. Okay. A month later, right? He's like, hey, I'm so nice to meet you. And I'm like, different girl. It's so funny. I'm like, she's in the bathroom. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I really like this one. I'm like, okay. Like, love that. Love that. I also ask people all the time how they met. Totally had a couple who were married, got a divorce, got onto social or dating apps, were matched. Like, no, not even like the like Tinder, like real on like, you know, match where you have to answer 1,000 questions. They were matched, paired, and then we're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Went out again and then got remarried and had kids.
Wow.
Crazy. Like,
It's
crazy.
like the Pina Colada song.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. I just heard that, yeah, the other day. Yeah. So like that kind of stuff. And then others that I like, I always ask people what their food fantasies are at the end. And that's where like lots of like hidden, like freaky, like fun and freaky stuff comes out, you know? And I love
What's the freakiest you've heard? We have
Can we get an explanation of food fantasies? Like what do you mean by food fantasies? Like,
Okay.
is it a food fantasy? Like, would they like? Would
okay,
they?
a
Would,
food fantasy could be like, I want I want to get an RV and travel through the South to try the best barbecue. Okay. Food fantasy, right? For like 2 weeks.
hold on. I got another question.
Okay.
So, like a barbecue fantasy like that, are they talking about like rubbing each other in like barbecue sauce, like sweet baby rays or something like that?
Yeah, that could be a fantasy too. See, exactly. Like my fantasy could be like to lay down my boyfriend. And I mean, I'm not really a barbecue fan, but like, I mean, my fantasy that I told him, I was like, my fantasy is to be on a like large, like beautiful marble table and just be totally rubbed down with coconut oil. And then like, you know, be fed like grapes and stuff, you know, like by him, something like that. I think that would be great. So it does include food. I mean, you need to have that. 100%. But like, okay, the weirdest one, you guys, the weirdest. And then this is what makes it makes me laugh so hard, because you're sitting there and you're looking at other people like, oh my God. So this guy is with his wife, very, very, you know, whatever. I love everybody for their ideas. And he was like, well, he goes, you know, he's like, my wife had a, you know, whatever. We have a 2-year-old, and and I tried her breast milk, and I just think it was the most amazing thing I've ever tried. And so I want to live in a building where downstairs, you know, on the first level, because we're in New York, that there is a confectionery store that just makes all these confections out of breast milk.
Oh God.
Okay.
Show us your face. I'm gonna need a dramatic reenactment right now of your face.
I was like, I mean, I think I was like, wait, you mean like food made with breast? I mean, I'm like, wow. I'm like that. I'm like, you know what? I love you for going there. I'm like, that is for sure like the wildest one I've ever heard. Okay, cool.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, you want to duck his cookies in the breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
and he
my
wanted
God.
his cookies made out of breast milk. Like he was like, it's so sweet. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting, not for nothing, and I love it, but I'm thinking, dude, like, did she have to like nurse him? Like, like what happened there? Like, what was going on there?
I think that's what we were all thinking. Like, how did we make this happen?
I mean, she's like, anyway, it was great. It was great. I also had, I love, you know, like you kind of get to know people. And this one guy, he was like, this sort of like, most of the people were always like pretty young, like in their like late 20s, you know? And this guy was like in his mid 40s, and he was married, he had kids, and he's like wearing his Star Wars t-shirt, and he was like the funny guy. And he's like, yeah, he's like, my fantasy, he's like, there's a kiddie pool. It's filled with cream corn. There's two what do you call them? Co-eds, two, you know, beautiful young co-eds with crop tops and dolphin shorts on. And they have iceberg lettuce leaves, and they're doing like a cream corn iceberg lettuce leaf like wrestling match.
Okay, so you're like part therapist, part date night expert because
Yeah. But
so
I love that stuff. I was like, I love that. I love just like, yeah, that's the freak I want. I'm like, I like that. All right.
Creamed corn. Jesus H.
Yes.
Do you need an ambassador for Atlanta so that I can get a job and then just like so that I can have stories to tell about like stories?
I mean, yeah, I know. You know what's really funny is like me and my girlfriends, because I'm like, well, I'm bringing this back to life. And they're like, you should get on wait, what's it called? OnlyFans.
Oh yeah.
Have my own cream corn fight, and like, I mean, people like want to swim in spaghetti. I mean, I have a lot of these fantasies. And I'm like, just be there like in my lingerie, hanging out. I don't know. People have great
cream corn. Just
cream corn. Just making angels in the cream corn. Yeah.
I feel like a dud. I do not have any food fantasies other than someone making dinner for me. That's it.
But see, that is one. That's a fantasy. I mean, for a lot of people.
Which is somebody doing something for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would do it for me. No swimming, no lettuce leaf, no co-eds, just some flatware.
You would not want to see nobody in some cream corn wrestling with each other throwing.
No, I scoop. I really don't.
So I'm gonna ask you: have you ever had just like the dud couple? Have you ever had just like a dud couple that no matter what you did, they were just like?
Yeah, I've had. I mean, it's. You know what's really interesting, because I used to read people, and sometimes people would be like that, and I'm like, oh my God. And then they would come and they'd be like, this is so much fun. And I'm like, we're really? Because I'm like, you look like you're like getting, your toenails pulled off of your feet, and I'm like, wow. Because I just think sometimes people get nervous, to like kind of let their like freakiness, it's not really freaky, but like their inner self go. I'm like, dude, it's food. Like, you have a cheese fantasy. It's fine. Like, you're okay. But I did have a couple where, like, no joke, the guy like he sat down, he wasn't getting up. The girl was just like, come on, like, let's go. I mean, it was not happening at all. Super like grumpy, like just. He ended up leaving. I was like, I'm sorry, honey. Like, you could just see it. I mean, at that point, I want to be like, run. Like, he's not your guy. Like, just
let him loose. Let him go.
Oh, yeah. Like, get out of here. But, yeah.
I had that same experience when I first took my first improv class. Is like, I didn't realize I had like a wall of like things I was not going to do. Like, I just wasn't going to do it. And I got to improv class, and I thought it would be like Saturday Night Live. And my instructor was like, all right, everybody hop around like a rabbit. And I was like, you've got to be friggin' kidding me. Like, I almost just turned and walked out.
Really? Yeah.
And it's like super uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Scoot.
The only thing, Lee, you wasn't gonna have nobody leaving you, like somebody that would potentially cheat on you because you did not want to do the things that she wanted you to do.
Well, that's true. I just felt like I had too much self-respect, and then I realized I was in a room full of other like professional people who made more money than me and had spouses and children, and they were hopping around like a rabbit. And I was like, all right, I paid $400. I'll hop around like a friggin' rabbit.
Yeah. Now they will do anything.
Yeah, I will. I'll do anything. Yeah.
It's also about your vulnerability, like, what are you willing to like expose about yourself? Like what do you feel comfortable enough owning that you're into that? I mean, honestly, that guy with the breast milk thing, I was like, dude, dang, you own that. Like, you can own that shit. And I was like, good for you.
Well, honestly, I think it really speaks to you that you can put someone at such ease, because I mean, I'm just gonna say it, that's a weird fucking fantasy, and we all have weird fantasies. Most of us just don't vocalize them. But for him to feel like he could say to you, this is what I want, I mean, bravo. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, actually, that's part of I don't know, I guess that's why I kind of like to I've always been really into like my sexuality has always been a big thing of mine, and it's also been like scary, you know, like as a woman, because it's, you know, it's all convoluted and like what's okay and what's not okay. And so with the food part, I feel like I'm like, dude, it's food, okay? Like it's still just food, you know what I mean? Like people would get all nervous about like their fantasy and stuff, and I'm like just have a fantasy, you know? So I kind of took like this sensuality, sexuality, like through the restaurant kitchen door, you know, to kind of get in there that way. So hopefully people get into it.
Well, I would think candles are a big part of this experience. When you're like, are you also playing music? Like, tell me about the atmosphere.
Yeah. So actually,
get people in the groove.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. So like part of the class that we're doing, yeah, they're like, you have to prep, like you have to get like, you know, your game set going, right? So like with our class, so we give you guys like an entire list of all the food you need to buy. We give you a list of like gadgets, things like, you know, if you want to just click on Amazon to get it so that, you know, it's easy to get. I made a playlist, and I mean, okay, since we've been hanging out and I've like finished my entire cocktail, I feel like I can tell you this. So I always used to put like, I used to call it the sexy R&B one, right? And so I was like listening to it and editing it, and I was driving down to San Diego with my boyfriend, and we're like talking and trying. I'm like, dude, you're pointing out all. He's like, he's like, that song's about someone cheating on each other, and I'm like, well, they're still having sex, you know, like there's like all this like stuff. I'm like, I think it's okay. So then we're having this whole discussion, and then Val, who is my partner, my business partner, we're texting, and she's like, how are you doing on the playlist? And I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm like, she's like, well, what like criteria are you using? I'm like, it depends which song gets me the wettest. So there you go. So that's how the playlist is. It's like
based
on what made me excited. So it's kind of fun. And it's mostly like for me, I don't know, because I guess it's how I started it. It's a little bit old school, like sort of like 60s, 70s, you know, like Marvin Gaye and Barry White and Al, you know, I mean, come on, like Barry White's like, yeah, baby. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
I have to ask you this because this has been so much fun.
Oh,
I have to ask you this. And the Twitch stream has been very active, and I want to get their opinion on it as well. You mentioned a holiday coming up March 14th.
14th, yes.
I would love to have you back on March 11th to talk to us about that holiday and sort of take us through a menu based around that holiday.
Yes, I used to do those. I actually have a really good menu, so it's good.
Oh, if you would do that, I mean, Twitch stream, make some noise if you would be interested in this, because I believe.
Do we tell them what it is?
I would love for you to tell them what it is. I don't want to steal your thunder. I'd love for you to tell them what it is.
Okay. So you guys, Valentine's Day is February 14th. The idea is that the man or one of you, you know, is to adore your partner with gifts and shower them with love and whatnot. Okay. So now March 14th, exactly 1 month later, is sort of the perspective from the male perspective. And men are just like, wow, we did all this stuff for our, you know, the women in our life on the 14th. And what do we get? And they're like, listen, we just want to make it simple. Okay. All we want is a steak and a blowjob. So it's a steak and a blowjob day. It was actually created by these morning talk show hosts in New York City. I forget their names, but they started it and it became a thing. So it's like, just that's it. Steak, blowjob. Thank you very much. We're good. Don't buy me anything.
I would love it. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, we having that show. Yeah.
If you came back on the 11th, we can plan this behind the scenes, but Scoop will actually cook the menu while you talk about it.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God, I love that. Now, the thing, Tanya, we have to tell everybody is that we will provide the menu and the inspiration, but you must provide the blowjob, okay?
Yeah.
Like,
blowjob not included.
Just so you guys know, we're not that kind of show.
I ain't doing none of the other stuff. I'm just cooking.
I know. We're just having fun. It's all good. It's all good.
Everybody can sign up for your class. The date of your class in Atlanta, which is virtual, I believe is it February?
So all of our classes, anywhere you want to be, we have them. So Valentine's Day is Sunday, the 14th. So we have them on Sunday, on Saturday, and on Friday. It's a 3-day weekend, I think. And we're offering them twice. Everybody's got like a different, schedule. So I think for the East Coast, it's going to be at 7 and 10 o'clock. But for the West Coast, it's like 4 and 7 o'clock. So it's, maybe I'll just work it out. And honestly, like if you like are just like, I don't know, I don't want to, like, I kind of want to do it, I don't want to do it, you could just sign up, buy all your stuff, and then just watch the re-recorded one, because we're going to send it so you can watch it again. Yeah.
Okay.
Which also gives you the opportunity to like run away from the cooking should you need to.
People get like nervous if they get like performance anxiety before they're.
Or they just get all hot and bothered from like all of the aphrodisiac like commenting and drinking too much wine. Like, yes.
Oh, I want you to tell us one more quick story about the hot and bothered.
Okay.
Couple that went downstairs at one of the classes that disappeared. And then Lee, I hope you've been paying very close attention to all of this, because I'm going to have you sing us out of the show tonight. So pay very close attention to this story and think about all the others you've heard. So tell us about the couple that vanished from one of your classes.
So one of my first test classes, I went to my sister and my brother-in-law's house in Seattle, and they invited their friends, which was great because I didn't know any of them then. And so everybody was couples, and like halfway through the night, we're like, so the married couple, like out then none of them were married, and the married couple had already been married for like 8 years. Lisa and Johan were like, where'd Lisa and Johan go? And they're like, oh my God, they're downstairs. It's only like boom, shika, boom, boom. Like they went downstairs and showed up all disheveled, half an hour later. It was great.
Oh, I love that. So you have been great. We are going to have you back. We're going to talk about Blowjobs Day. Thank you so much. Appetite for Seduction. Appetite, the number 4, seduction.com. They can contact you guys. They can find out how to register for the classes. Yeah, it's $49.99. That's like per device. So, I think it's a pretty, it's a legit like date. Like it's a legit date. Like you guys will have fun. And that's a super cheap date. That is. I mean, you have to buy the food, but it's not too pricey. So yeah, you can go all balls out on your wine if you want to. Or you can do $2 chuck. $2 chuck, yes. All right, it's been so great. Thank you so much, Shani. Thank you. Thanks, Tanya. Bye, you guys. Wait, don't leave, because Lee's not. I'm just waiting for Lee's song. I can't wait.
Asparagus and hollandaise. Why don't you come over to my place? Let's have an artichoke, not a fig. That's not the way I roll. I love a cake. I feel my pants explode. Oh, baby, you've really got a load. I really want to do this again. How about March 14th, my friend? Would you like a big T-bone steak and a blowjob? Would you like a big T-bone steak and a blowjob? We'll have to work harder on the pasta, and you'll have to buy better wine if we're gonna do this together one more time. And I just want to warn you, I'm lactating. I hope you like breast milk, baby. Thank
you guys so much. We'll see you back here next Thursday.
Bye, guys.